I don't know about you, but when I think of fighting games, the first titles that come up to my mind are the ones I personally call the big three. Of course, Tekken, Street Fighter, and lastly but not last, Mortal Kombat. Out of all of them, I've always been more close to the latter. My true first, somewhat competitive fighting game was MK9 after all. Now though, we have MK11, a game in its ultimate form. The game is pretty much complete at this point, and it's damn valid. It's fun, easy to get into, and it does have different layers of complexity. One thing I loved about MK11 is the addition of Shao Kahn as a playable character. This is something many people wouldn't understand, but if you ever played the arcade ladders in MK9, I know for certain you were hyped for MK11 Shao Kahn just like me. He's been the iconic boss in the fighting game genre, kicking asses since 1993. So when he was actually added as a playable character, was he good? Did he feel like the boss character he's always been? Well, not quite. For basically ever since the release of the game, Shao Kahn has always been a joke character. Mainly because he was weak, miserable, pathetic, with maybe good damage, but nothing else outside that. It felt poetic though, since he shared his place as a terrible character with his longtime frenemy, Raiden. However, nowadays both Raiden and Shao Kahn are considered solid. A series of buffs made them super viable. Shao Kahn became the combo machine he always deserved to be, and even though he's surely not the best character in the game, he's still decent and, more importantly, fun to play with. I remember though what he was like in MK9. The boss, a literal monster, which made me rage so many times. Every time he beat me into a pulp so much I just wanted to switch to Noob Saibot to teleport his ass into oblivion. Remembering this, I thought, is it possible to make Shao Kahn feel like a boss in MK11 too? After all, in this game there's a convenient customization system which can be utilized. Shao Kahn also conveniently has the most infuriating move in the game. That fucking laugh. Nothing felt more good than slamming his ass because he laughed, and nothing felt more bad than being beat into submission and then receiving his insults. But hey, in MK11 now I'll be the one who laughs. So I opted into the customization system and assembled a variation, trying to replicate his MK9 look and using only his most iconic moves. We have it all. The shoulder charge, the spear, the hammer, but most importantly, the laugh. And then the skewered move to improve his combo potential. So, after putting on an adequate name, I got into training to try to understand how to make this work. Shao Kahn has different moves you can choose to add, but let me tell you, choose anything but these two moves. They are all but competitive, they are downright bad. But don't worry, I will make this work. Or at least I'll try. First of all, the shoulder charge. It's on his basic kit and it's a great move. It's unsafe on block, but it's his best combo tool and it works just fine. Then there's the spear, which is not the best projectile in the game, but it works. It does decent damage at least, and it's nice to have. Then we have the hammer. I swear to God, this might be his most pitiful move. It's a projectile. Just like the spear. It hits mid, just like the spear. It starts on 26 frames, just like the spear, and it does 60 damage. The spear does 80 damage. So what's the difference exactly? Well, the spear can whiff when up close, while the hammer does not. But that's pointless since you wouldn't use them up close anyway. The only real advantage the hammer gives is a crushing blow. You get it by hitting twice in a row, and it does the good amount of 230 damage. Problem is, you can't combo in the crushing blow. The first hammer can be chained at the end of a combo, but to get a crushing blow the second hammer must hit in neutral, basically, and that doesn't happen very often. But whatever, we'll take what we can get. Lastly, we've got the laugh. It's actually split amongst two moves. Ridicule, which will decrease the opponent's damage for a while, and Humiliate, which will increase your own damage for a while. Which is the most useful out of these two? Well, I guess it depends on the circumstances, like your opponent's playstyle, the character they choose, the amount of health you have at the moment, your opponent's one. Personally though, I found Humiliate the way to go one if you're in doubt. Shao Kahn already has crazy damage. Pumping it up with his move is a great thing. On paper, these two moves are great. Also because the decrease of damage is fucking wild. For example, this simple combo with Noob Saibot does 307 damage. With the decrease it does 153. It's a 50% decrease. These moves though start on 95 frames. That's an eternity. They're 95 frames of Shao Kahn doing nothing, basically wanting to get it. My goal was to find a way to get the move in a somewhat safe manner. There's no way to get a 95 frames advantage, but we'll try what we can. My first attempt was with his best combo, which is forward 4, 3 and 1+4. It's the bread and butter of Shao's playstyle, since the last hit is an unblockable throw which can be cancelled with his shoulder charge to create a 50-50 mix-up. However though, these two moves are unusable on this string. There's just not enough time, and this with basically all of his strings. Most of the times he's straight up at that sentence, in other cases he's borderline unsafe. There are only two exceptions. One is the strings forward to 1, which is kinda unsafe but not many characters can punish from that distance. The other is, simply enough, back 4. You are still minus when using the move after this attack, but you're nearly unpunishable when doing it. It's a good way to chain these moves, mainly because this attack, back 4, is also one of his best buttons. It's a great tool to catch the opponent in neutral. This alone would make these two moves better, but the thing is, when you're using this attack, you could just combo to get damage in, so when you are instead using the buff or the debuff, you're basically sacrificing damage to hopefully get more damage later with the buff, or to hopefully receive less damage if you lose the next neutral. So yeah, not the most practical thing, but usable, I guess. There's a secret catch though. There's a crushing blow linked to these two moves. If the opponent is debuffed, either in his defense or offense, and you manage to use his best string, which is, remember, forward 4, 3 and 1+4, you'll get the astounding amount of 369 damage. If you buffed your damage, you'll get instead almost 400 damage. That's a great crushing blow, because it makes his mix-up even scarier. So, ready to become the boss, I've opted in player matches, because I didn't want my ops to get instantly crushed in the Combat League. Turns out, my ops were to get crushed in player matches too. The first games I got into were miserable, to say the least. I ran into a very skilled Kotal Khan who demolished me, but not before I got my licks in.
Round 2, fight!
Wow, that's good damage. I'll win this one. Well, fuck. After that I ran into a noob Saibot who was very skilled too. Again he demolished me, but again I managed to get something to work. In fact I did almost 50% damage with a single combo. I think this really shows how much of a combo-based Shao Kahn really is. Too bad this is not enough. These first two miserable set of matches made me realize that I really forced myself to get that taunt move in. I used it in situations where it was not needed, resulting in me being punished, and this affected my playstyle all around, which came to be as sloppy and improvised as you can imagine. Things got better in the third set, which was against a collector. In this one I tried to learn my lesson and tried to not use as much nor the hammer or the laugh. It went way better. I used my secret tricks only when it was needed, and I learned that the hammer can be a great way to shut down Zoner's wannabe. In this set of matches I found the real use of the taunt moves, being toxic. When you defeat the opponent, just wait there and clown on them. It feels so good. It becomes amazing when Shao decides to use the best and smartest insult of all.
You suck!
The fourth set was against a Raiden player, and it was really great. I think it was there that I really learned to find the perfect moments to use the hammer and the taunt. But let me tell you something, teleports can be very annoying. I won the first game and lost the second one. The third came down to the wire, but I managed to win. And be toxic.
Finish him. Outworld will rule.
After this last match I was proud of my learning curve, so I quickly jumped in the Combat League. Funnily enough, the matches I had there were kinda easier. Maybe because MK11 is in the sunset phase, typical of all fighting games, the last phase, in which the strongest players retires from their ranked matches, and instead they resort to spending their time in player matches, basically ruining the lives of all the last new players who hop into player matches because they think they're not ready for the ranked experience. Poor souls. Anyway, my ranked experience with this Shao Kahn build was good overall. I fought two single players, you don't see them much these days, the never-ending Scorpions who refuse to learn the game, a Kano player, annoying just like all Kano players after all, and then a Joker. Now, I'll let you watch this set in its entirety, since I think it really sums up my learning curve with this variation I put up. You'll see it in all its strengths and weaknesses.
Your life ends. Round 2, fight! I will end this way. Final round, fight! Finish him! fight! Round 2, fight! Shao Kahn wins.
So, is MK9 Shao Kahn any good in MK11? Well, yes. Truth is, there are way better moves you could use instead of the taunt move and the hammer. For instance, you could use Dark Priest, which is a way more usable move than the taunt move, or you could use the Seeking Wrath Hammer, which has way more utility than the regular Wrath Hammer. But anyway, this variation is still usable. More than that, it's fun. Nothing, let me repeat, nothing feels better than taunting your opponent. It makes you feel like the video game boss Shao Kahn has always been.
You suck! Shao Kahn wins.